criminals of Reddit. What is your plan when you break into a house and see a naked man running straight towards you? Poison Ivy full bodysuit. Who's the idiot now, dad? Dad. I'm not your dad, son. I'm not your son, dad. I'm not your uncle, buddy. I'm not your cousin, guy. I'd start a fire and then extinguish it to assert dominance. Pee it out like an alpha. Burnt piss is like the worst smell ever. Truth. When I was 24 I woke up to the smell of burnt piss and smoking electronics. Someone had 4 friends over that crashed there, had woke up drunk and pissed on my PS1. Fuck, was that nasty. According to my dad who this has happened to, the criminal will begin to try and stab your naked body. Edit. A word. How much damage can one knife make? The study is a little old, but it is believed that multiple stab wounds may have an adverse effect on health. They haven't moved into the clinical trials, pending approval, but testing the theory on monkeys found that there was a real physical reaction to being stabbed. Fit, got a source other than that obviously biased horseshit? Our parents stabbed us all the time and we turned out just fine. It strengthens your defense system. Stabbing gives you autism, anti-stabbers probably. Statistically unlikely, besides it's more important to have heard stabbing. Make sure your kids are stabbed because I don't want to have to get stabbed myself. My daughter has been invited to a stabbing party that the parents assure me will make her immune to stabbing after she survives this stabbing. Should I be concerned? I mean, that's how I got it. My parents were devastated. Not about the stabbing, but the autism. We were robbed once and I shit you not, to this day my father is still telling that story, that when he got downstairs to pee, naked the robbers ran away because of his massive D. God I love this man. My former co-worker was a big gay bear powerlifter who claimed he slept naked. One day some crackhead broke into his house and he chased him around the house and into the street before remembering he was naked. He said the invader looked horrified. I'd imagine most home invaders are just thieves and have no intention of fighting or committing murder. While it's impressive these people ran, they probably never intended on staying whether you were wearing no clothes or 5 layers. Strip my clothes and fight him. Run right towards him. The large heart on Collider. You're giving at least one of these men a little too much credit. Regardless of the size of their dicks, to be either person in this scenario takes some serious balls. You're right, my balls are way too laid back to ever be involved in something this outrageous. Depends on how good looking the naked man is. I broke in to steal his TV, but Kirk ended up stealing my heart. Congratulations. So is he good looking? If so you should expect a robbery. Run naked towards him. How the turns have tabled. The story. My dad sleeps in the buff. Always has, a FAIK. My sister, Teresa, was about 18 at the time, still living at home as I had yet to grace the earth with my presence and overfill our house. This was about the time she met her future ex-husband, John. Teresa was out late one night with John. They had come back to the house and her plan was to sneak both of them in through the back door, which led off of the landing down to the basement where her room was. My dad heard the back door open. As the man of the house, with 3 daughters and a pregnant wife to protect, he knew he had to act. He rolled his hairy ass out of his wardrobe, came streaking down the hall, through the living room, round into the kitchen, where he saw a man standing on the landing. His weapon of choice? My mother's cast iron skillet. In mere seconds of entering the house, John was pinned up against a wall by a naked ogre, threatening to bash his brains in with cast iron cookware. I'm not sure how this story ends, but I like to imagine that John pissed himself before my dad realized that this intruder had consent to blacken his daughter's virtue. Edit. I was not expecting this response, Silver. Gold, a wholesome award I gave up writing a long time ago, but you're all very encouraging, and I'm considering picking it up again because of all your love. Thank you. Dad also slept naked. One night we got broken into. They were banging around drunk in the garage. I followed my naked dad down the hall, which seems super fucking weird when I typed that, but nudity was pretty normal in my house. It's fucking hot and salty, too poor for AC. He flicked on the garage light, and these 2 idiots completely froze, except for their faces. It was literally one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It was like that record skip meme. I bet you're thinking how I got myself into this situation. A look of fright quickly but slowly formed into an expression of pure confusion. They dropped a box of absolute shite they had, Wolder preferred they stole it, and tried to run. We had a big fence though, and yeah, they didn't get close to making it over. The next part was a little disturbing as my dad absolutely creased them. We had to go to court and shit, but everything was okay, they were fine, etc, etc. But yeah, dad was naked the whole time, and they wanted nothing to do with it. I'd think that it was just a mirror. AskReddit follow up, what do you do after you run naked into a mirror while breaking into a house? Put a band-aid on Willie's willy. This seems to be the right answer. Imposter. Depends on if I had a boner or not. If I did have a boner then I'd try and lose the boner before going to the hospital to get my broken nose looked at. A follow-up on the people who sleep naked question. Next up, a question about what firemen do when they find a naked person in a burning house. Was a volunteer firefighter, we always gave the victims thermal blankets to cover up. They cost us pennies and saved some of their embarrassment. Blanket, sir? Nah. I'm good. Really enjoying that fire, huh. Fireman running downstairs with man over his shoulder and dicks tucked to his face shield. I always break into a house with a nice knife. If I see a naked man charging me, I'm going to try and practice my circumcision technique. To be fair, if somebody broke into my house and started circumcising themselves, they can have whatever they want. That switched things around very quickly, lol, the old Reddit switcheroo. Thanks for explaining the joke. Bring your chin down to protect your neck while continuing to stare into his eyes. Bring up your hands and say, I don't want no trouble. Flex your traps and core while slightly bending your knees. Here comes the important part. In a low voice begin to say lo, slowly increasing in volume. He should be surprised by now. Begin to sway side to side and loosen all facial muscles and your anal sphincter and your kegel muscle. By now you should be pretty loud and your opponent will have stepped back and will appear visibly shaken. Begin to piss and shit yourself and let your eyes roll into the back of your head. By now you are chanting lo at the top of your lungs. He will run away. Everyone within a 1-mile radius will feel a terrifying presence within their soul. Marvel as you ascend into your planar form. The perfect solution to any scenario. My boss hates it when I do this. Boner or no boner. It's out and it's veering left and right like the rudder that steers a ship as he charges, eyes wide with fear or shock or excitement or purpose. You imagine hoofbeats and a knight in armor, raising a jousting lance to unseat you from your horse. His lance is shorter than most, but wielded with the same intent, an air that says, this shall ram into you at great speed and send you backwards, your only hope is that you might unseat me first. 20 feet between you becomes 10, and then finally 5. Brace for impact. Spoken like a poet. Go on. Strip down as well, try to seduce him. If I fail I kill him and act like he tried to keep me hostage. If it works I take his stuff when he falls asleep. If it works but he won't let me go, I'll have his kids be annoying as hell, so he doesn't want to be with me and collect child support. You roll a natural 20. You're pregnant with triplets. Would 11 p.m. suit you? I'll check my agenda. If you even see a clothed man running towards you you're busted. It's fight or flight time now, buddy. If a criminal enters a house while the occupants are home it is generally one of two situations. Either they made a big mistake and want to get out, or they are there to kill you. Yes, I know home invasions are a thing, and there are scary people out there, but generally people would rather not confront someone. So, in your comment, you have typed the edit symbol, but the post time date does not show that it was edited. Barring a ninja edit, you did not in fact edit the comment, and that was the original in its entirety. You are using the edit symbol in a fraudulent fashion. I'm sorry that I had to confront you on that. Laying in bed one night when my wife and I were woken up by our dog, 60 pounds lab pit mix, growling at something. Usually he would do it and move on when we shush him. But this night he was more insistent. At the time it was just us, no kids, so we slept in the buff. I am not buff, quite the opposite, overweight and average in every way, height and length dimensions. My wife insists that maybe we should check it out. So we go out the bedroom. I, without any weapons or anything, think, what the fuck is my naked ass going to do if there is someone out there? Run at them. I steel myself, resolved to that is exactly what I am going to do. Charge them screaming while my wife calls 911. We go out to the living room, nothing there, the door is still locked and no signs of entry. The dog starts losing his shit again around the office. We track it down to the airlock on the beer I just brewed was a little clogged, and so it was hissing past the airlock cork. So hooked up a blow-off tube. Still naked, before going back to bed. I sleepwalk and I woke up in someone else's condo one time. A naked guy came out screaming in the morning, and I immediately matched his intensity, declaring it was my condo, not his. It looked similar, but all the furniture was wrong, so I conceded. I picked up the pizza I had brought from home and left. And nothing happened after that. Nothing. I lived there for a few months after that, and I think I saw him outside the building once. He didn't say anything to me. Either it wasn't him, he didn't recognize me, or he chose not to engage. He probably thought I was a crazy person, lol. I have so many questions. Why am I breaking in? Did he take something from me? Is he holding a friend hostage? Does he owe me money? I'm a lesbian, so a naked dick running towards me is a bigger deterrent than a gun. And why is he naked? Is this at night? Is he a nudist? I'm so confused as to why this would be happening to me. It sounds like the beginning of movie that starts with a buck-ass naked dude running toward the camera, then freeze frame. Internal dialogue. You might be wondering how I ended up here. I go see that movie. This reminds me of the time my uncle woke up in the middle of the night to hearing a stranger breaking into his wife's car. He shot straight out of bed, butt naked, and sprinted out the door with a baseball bat in one hand and fist on the other. He ended up hitting and scaring the guy away. However, I find it hilarious that he has to show the home security footage to the police of him running out the door naked to beat up the guy. My dad used to wake up around 3 a.m. to go to work. One morning he looked out the window and saw a little pen light and some asshole trying to break into the back door to our garage. There was another side door at the house where he watched the guy for 5 minutes in bewilderment before pounding on the glass and then ripping the door open and chasing the guy down the street in nothing but his underwear. Apparently the guy had quite the oh fuck look on his face. To this day I sleep naked and keep a hatchet at my bedside. If I ever get broken into, I hope the sight of a crazed looking muscular guy, ass naked, carrying a mini axe is at least a little frightening. Not a criminal, but I've been the naked man. It was late at night, I had been home all day after an accident in which I ran myself over and needed crutches, leg braces, etc. I couldn't be asked to have clothes on, so I just had a dressing gown on which I wasn't pulling close. I hear someone come through the front door and presume it is my wife, although it is several hours earlier than normal. I hobbled to the hallway to greet her, only to meet the frozen look of a guy who had unlawfully entered my home. After a brief pause, I screamed get the fuck out, hobbled with my junk swinging, and I roared at him. Guy looked like he was going to piss himself and ran. Fun fact, I actually ran into the guy again. Some delivery guys sent some IIRC furniture to the wrong address, and I went to get our stuff. The house they sent it to was a few doors down and was identical to our own. He answers the door with his mum and had a deer in the headlights look. He offered to carry the delivery for me, and I took him up on it and got to chatting. Turns out he had moved in recently, came back after a night of drinking, and Pokemon Go, entered the wrong house when he came face to face with naked screaming me. He ran out and was going to call the police. From his perspective, a naked angry stranger chased him from his home when he realized his mistake and went home. Nice, if not stupid, chap in the end. I once encountered a burglar in my apartment after I got back from a party around 2 a.m. The guy did not want to leave. He asked me if he could sleep over, even though he had already gathered all my valuables in a duffel bag, ready to go. Even after I forced him into the hallway and called the cops, he did not want to leave and kept banging on my door, begging me to let him in. Up until the cops arrived and started playing dead. What good were cops if they just played dead? Oh, you don't know? Anytime cops are playing dead, you just demand that they get their supervisor on the scene. Your dad needs a machete. I used to live in a bad part of town, and some dipshit or another would break in every few months. Can confirm that when you're both naked and waving a machete, they run very quickly. It's all about looking the perfect amount of deranged. Until they also bring a machete, and now it is a naked man's sword fight. You say that like it's a bad thing. Hey, I'm not here to judge. So your dad was also naked? I used to have dreams about being in a natural disaster, like London's burning, an earthquake that causes everyone to run outside. All the people are well dressed, maybe they have uniforms. And then there's me. But ass naked. Dude, for some reason this reminded me of the Great Halifax explosion. Do your naked ass a favor, don't stand in front of a glass window to watch a fire. Having your pecker peppered by pieces of glass would probably be unpleasant. I read that last sentence out loud and now my phone has water damage. Just negate that with fire damage. When I was about 20, I went to visit my girlfriend who just went to university in a different city. She was renting a room in a house with maybe 6 other students, each had a room. Anyway, we were celebrating our reunion with the lights off when I see the door slowly opening and an Asian dude just slowly walking in. WTF. Anyway, I jumped out of bed and walked to the dude. I am a pretty big guy, and I imagine having a large naked erect dude threateningly approaching you is always intimidating. The Asian dude gave a shriek and ran away. So this kind of answers the posted question, except I was the naked guy in the story. I never saw him again and never found out who he was. Not to be a boner killer, but it sounds like your gal might have had a local guy to keep her company who didn't know you were there. There was this guy from my town, divorced but living with his 2 older kids, late teens, and on Christmas morning, someone broke in. From what I gathered, the invader was attempting to steal gifts but was confronted by the homeowner. He was a man of simple things, like sports, farming, and sleeping nude. Now this man is not a slight man, he's a rather hefty gentleman with a big beard. Upon confronting the invader, this man runs out to see a man in his living room and approached him completely nude. But he did not come empty-handed. See, I live in the cornfields and hunting world, so of course this man has his gun in hand. The face-off begins and ends quickly. Upon being approached by a 300+ pound naked man with a rifle pointed directly at him, the thief stops. The man then calls the police and waits for them to arrive, buck naked with his rifle drawn. If that isn't holiday fucking cheer, I don't know what is. So there's this old rule about defensive handgun shooting that says on average you need 21 feet for your brain to recognize a threatening person moving quickly toward you. How quickly? Common question, they kind of based it on an average male, moving at somewhat above a jog to have some sort of baseline. Draw your handgun, align your weapon, and fire a shot. In this case I think I'd need more like 50 feet because dudes definitely all look at each other's dicks, and no matter how straight the dude there'd always be that moment of who's bigger. That's if you're not expecting it. When you enter your gun will already be drawn and you'll be ready. Step out the way as you shoot, he'll fall on you. That's a fair, true point. Maybe some people want to have him fall on them.
Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Tell me what you dislike or love about this video, so please comment below and hit the bell icon so you're notified anytime a new video is released. This is a WeCrow Media production.